Some people just say, oh, you got to go to the present, right? It's not that easy, as you know. How the brain works scientifically, it's projecting from the past. So you have to really cut ties and heal the past if you want to actually be present. But now we know, even with science, actually, when you have a lot of stress, that is actually the number one thing that causes diseases.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast. As always, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for showing support. And thank you guys for showing love on every single episode. If you are here, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you are new, the support means everything. Thank you guys for being here. I have a guest with me today, and a guest that, for me, I haven't had on somebody in terms of the expertise, in terms of the topics, and mental wellness is something that I preach, and I have Blake Guss with me today. Thank you, Blake, for coming in. With over 10 years of experience and working with Square, working with CVS, working with NYU, some of the schools that you have done as well, elementary schools, companies, all of the above. Saw that you did something with Deloitte. To be able to sit here and talk about something that I also really do enjoy and really like talking about as well. I'm excited for everybody to see, some of the different side of not only myself, but this podcast as well. It's just not, about self-improvement. It's also about the spirituality aspect, the mental wellness aspect. And I just wanted to say thank you for coming out and taking some time with me today to just discuss so many things that we'll get into. So thank you for being here. How are you? Let's start off with that.
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much, Avi, and thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
As your sincerity is why I wanted to work with you, man. And I really appreciate to be here, and I'm doing excellent. Thank you for asking.
So I was wondering about where I wanted to start with this episode, and a couple things came to mind. What is your current view on the world today? And with people as anxious as ever, depressed as ever, comparing themselves more than ever, and worrying about so many things that really are out of our control, what is your current view on the world? And do you believe that mental wellness has a part or a hand in where we are today as a society?
100%. That's an amazing question. Was not expecting you to ask that. I love that. For sure. I believe where we're at right now, we're actually at a point where we're going to get a lot better. Just like anything else in life, you talk about personal development. Sometimes you have to get it worse before you realize how bad it is to get better, unfortunately. But I do believe that we're at a point where a consciousness shift is happening, and awareness is happening, where we're starting to realize, hey, we can't see our mind, but now we know, even with science, actually, when you have a lot of stress, that is actually the number one thing that causes diseases. Number one. Stress we know that a long time ago. How can stress cause a heart attack? That's how people thought. Now we know for sure stress can cause a heart attack, right? Yeah. So, and when you talk about personal development, mind comes first. And when you have now all the top athletes in the world, I don't know if you saw LeBron, clearly, like before he's going in, it was like a picture that was all over social media, and all the athletes working on their mind, right? That's what separates all of us, all the top performers in business or whatever field you look at. So I believe that thankfully we are getting to a point where we are realizing how important mental wellness is. And I'm also a believer of everything's for a reason. And I'm a believer in the higher power, whether you call that God, Buddha, Allah, the universe, the truth, nature. Mm-hmm. And I believe at the end of the day, that's the one running the show. And sometimes we need to be shown that we need to heal, so it's not just about comparing. It's not just about money and looks and all these things. It is also about our inside and our mental wellness.
Yeah. And it just seems like when I look at so many of the successful people, that's usually the one indicator, the one outlying thing, is that meditation or any sort of silence and reflection is usually on the menu for their day. And I dropped there was a quote that I put in for the channel that I have on Instagram, and it was Marcus Aurelius and how much he uses, or how much he did use when he was the head of Rome, or one of the heads of Rome, and he implemented 30 minutes, 45 minutes a day in just walking. And how I see that as a society now, where we are so, even myself, are just so caught up to just, all right, I'm walking, I'm just gonna use my phone, and not really sit there and reflect and sit back on some of the experiences that I've been through or where I'm currently at in my life. And it's just those 30 to 45 minutes a day that we can't even allot, just that little time to really sit there and reflect. And it makes me wonder, if we can't use 30 to 45 minutes of our day for this term of development, how can we accomplish any sort of feat or any sort of task or any sort of challenge moving forward if we can't even focus on 30 minutes of
We
our day?
we have to.
Yeah.
That's what I have to, at
Yeah.
least. Right? Like I say, for me to be okay, I got into this because I struggled with anxiety, depression, I was suicidal. So that's what pushed me to look and change. So I say I have to every single day develop myself spiritually, physically, and mentally. And if you look, do you think LeBron's not busy? Do you think Jeff Bezos not busy? Or all the people who you see that they credit meditation for their success?
Yeah.
They make the time for that. So it's about a matter of priorities. I promise you that time will come back when you take. If Marcus Aurelius running right was doing it, his book's called Meditations,
Yeah.
his most famous one. So exactly, we need to make the time for it, I believe, in order for us to be better.
Yeah. And how have you approached, in terms of how your personal life, there's been videos of, your 20s, and you talked about how you were suicidal and how you were dealing with anxiety and how you were dealing with depression, and all of these things that can really corrupt your mind. How have you been able to kind of shape that personal life experience and kind of add that to your meditation practices and teaching others?
For sure. I think that your pain becomes your purpose, I believe, and you're most fit to serve the person you once were. So I think that helps me a lot. I help everyone, but definitely I have deeper connection sometimes with young men, but I connect with anyone. So that has helped me in that way. It's the same as you want to learn from someone who's been through something. But of course, some people, I was just working with someone yesterday. He's just here and he wants to get to here. So not everybody, meaning like he feels like he's in a good place, but he wants to up his game even more. And there's a lot of those cases too.
Yeah.
But for someone that's coming in that's really feels broken, feels like they can't change, I know the possibility of how much you can change. So I
Mhm.
really believe in people when they come. I know there's nothing special about me. I just did the work to be able to change and be happy.
Yeah.
So I can believe in them and know that whatever you're going through, you can change. So it has helped me so much.
Why do you feel like you're drawn to help or aid younger men? Was there something that maybe in like childhood, or in terms of as you were growing up, or maybe within the own experiences that you've cultivated as you were younger, is there any inclination of why younger men you seem to want to be able to aid or guide more?
I think definitely because just I was struggling at that time when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
So I'm most fit to serve them because I know them, I know their language, and I know how it can be,
Hmm.
right? And it can be lonely. The reason why I had so many problems is because my whole life I stuffed down all my things and I wasn't even aware of what's in there. So I would just feel so overwhelmed even when smaller things would happen. And at some point, even when bigger things I was just so overwhelmed from stuffing down things my whole life, like a typical man. And I tried to pretend like everything was okay. Maybe only the closest people near me knew that I had a side to me that could get depressed or I had some addiction issues or these kind of things because I was going through that. But on the outside, even close friends had no idea of what I was going through. So I think I'm like, I want to get to everyone, but especially young men, it's like, yeah, it's okay to they feel more comfortable, I think, maybe to open to me because I know what they're going through, and then I know that they can change and that it's possible to change, and we don't have to hold all that stuff in, and we can actually be free and happy.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I've struggled with, and suppressing all the emotions or how I'm feeling or all the anxiety, and trying to just, what I've realized is that trying to make yourself this big hearted person that nothing faces. I've also realized that that's a trauma response. And at least some of the people that I've came across that have maybe acted like that, I realized that there was deeper things that were going on in their life or had gone in their life to really kind of protect them from either their emotions, from love, from all these things. And that sometimes seems to be the case with incredibly successful people where something has happened to them, traumatic as it was, either in childhood or teenhood or early adulthood, that they've kind of shielded themselves off from the world. And I think the only thing that that does for you is that creates a deeper isolation and a deeper disconnection with other people. And then you realize that there's a deeper disconnection with yourself, because if you're closing yourself off to this human emotion that all of us feel, regardless if whatever you have gone through in life or however you identify yourself as, that'll always be there. That'll always stick with you, and suppressing that does way more harm than good. And that's sometimes how people get addicted to certain things, or that's how sometimes people get involved with certain crowds or start indulging in certain things. And it just creates this deeper disconnection. And instead of facing it, they just shield themselves off and push it away. But that's just way more harm than it'll ever do good.
You're so right. It definitely does. The thing is, even if no matter what we went through, this is something that I want to talk about. I think a lot of people, it will help a lot of people. And we can talk about the traumas
Mm-hmm.
too. But our body is exactly like a camera machine. Even if you look at the lens on the phone or the cameras right here, they got the idea because the eye takes a picture, puts it in the brain. The lens looks exactly like an eye. They actually copied the same mechanism that we have. We're the ultimate original camera. But not just with our eyes, with all of our senses, without realizing it. Not just memory and not just life experience. Always recording. Whether you want to or not, the feelings, the emotions, the thoughts, everything, whether you want to or not, continually, 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 from the time you're in the womb. From the time you are in the womb, I know you don't remember being in the womb consciously, but subconsciously it's there actually. And everything you went through, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like you don't remember everything, right? But it's all in there and all the way up until now. So what happens is we took all that and we're carrying all that and then we're projecting it actually on top of the world and on top of ourselves, stuffing it down, stuffing it down, stuffing it down without realizing it. We're not even we start to not even live in the world, but live inside our own mind. But what I'm saying is sometimes and I do have some traumas in my life personally, but some people get stuck where they say, "Oh, like nothing really happened, like childhood wise." But I was like that too, because you don't realize even small things that you think are insignificant to you at that time, you took it in and you shaped your mind and you closed off your heart. Right? You closed off your heart, just like you were just talking about. You closed off your heart. You went up. You were a little kid, and you went up to everybody and said, "Hey, how you doing?" You know. And then one time, you went up to somebody and they said, "Like, get away from me, you little punk! I don't know you." You know. And then you said, "Oh, I can't do that." Right? Something like that, and you don't even remember it, but it's in your subconscious, and you close off your heart. And then something else, a girl, liked your friend instead of you, or something. You close off your heart. This happened. This happened. This happened. You close off your heart. You close off your heart. You close off your heart. And we're not. That's why it's called the subconscious. It's below our conscious level. We don't even know what's in there. So we have to know what's in there as much as we can and know how, and we can cleanse actually the byproducts of it. The memory life experience is important, but all the emotions, feelings, and thoughts that we're holding, we can actually release it. And that's the work that I'm so passionate about.
How do we? So I kind of want to go back to that reference with the camera.
Yeah.
From my knowledge of the camera, with the eye and with everything that is looking at you, we also have the SD card, the memory storage.
Yeah.
Now, how do we?
That's the brain, right?
Yeah, and how do we? The things that we're trying to erase, right? That subconscious part. How can we be more mindful of our subconscious? How can we kind of reprogram or change some of those experiences and be more aware of those things, and for the better, obviously? And how can we kind of change or reframe how we look at the subconscious, and if certain things that are still programmed up there that dates back 10 years, 15 years, whatever, how can we kind of go back to that and say, you know what, I kind of want to delete this.
That's the work that I'm so passionate about. You, unfortunately, for some of them, you cannot delete the memory, right? But you can delete when you're really healed from something. You can talk about it, you can think about it, you can see it in your head, but you're not. Certain things in my life, like my dad had addiction issues, these kind of things. Would if I start to talk about it or think about it, I would start shaking, right? So you can get to the point where you're healed from it and where it's not imposing on your current reality, because subconsciously it's imposing on the current reality. But first is we need a way how to actually do that. I mean, that's exactly what I teach. The first thing that I help people do is to go through their whole life as an observer and release. The first thing to recognize, though, is that it's not alive anymore. So that's what I could tell you right now. If I think about my favorite food right now in my head, can you see it right now? No?
I'm curious to
It's some
know
pizza, man. It's very simple. I love pizza, bro. So I can't eat that, right? You can't eat that. It sounds silly, but let me think about a time in high school when I was stressed. All right, I'm thinking about it right now. Can you see it? And if you think about one, I can't see yours either. It sounds silly. It sounds like common knowledge. But if we really think about it consciously, it's the same as the pizza. It's not here right now. But my mind, unfortunately, is holding it and it's confused that it's real. So first step is you're going to learn how to look at yourself as an observer. Just like if you looked at my stressful stuff, it wouldn't really bother you that much. You could just see it. So as an observer, be able to see it, and as an observer, be able to release it. Yeah, release the attachment. It's not about analyzing and going inside it and reliving it, but it's about learning how to observe and release. Observe and release. Just like when you eat something, you take the nutrients. Naturally, your body releases. But that's the work we have to do with our mind, and that's how we can become truly present. Some people just say, oh, you got to go to the present, right? It's not that easy, as you know. How the brain works scientifically, it's projecting from the past. So you have to really cut ties and heal the past if you want to actually be present, right? And you can get to know yourself on such a deep level. There's so many layers, right? Of like, wow, 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 and then be able to see things in a different way. And I know something mentioned on your podcast a lot through the several episodes I watched is like it's happening for you, not to you, right? That's a common thing in personal development. Really being able to see it as an observer and release it helps you feel that in your heart, because when you're going through it, it's almost impossible to to feel that. You're like, why me? Why am I going through this? So yeah, finding and releasing.
Yeah, man, there's so many times where um, I'm in therapy because I want to be able to heal and I want to be able to find. I've noticed that like in my sessions that when I'm trying to date back to certain things, my mind can never go there. It's either my mind has blocked myself off to that experience and doesn't want to relive it,
Mm,
or it doesn't want to enter
sure.
that realm of a 14-year-old or 10-year-old or an 8-year-old. And it, for me at least, I want to be able to kind of move past that because
Mm,
I don't want to project anything that has already happened to me because
yes.
that's unfair to
Yes.
to to anybody else.
Yes.
And I know for some of the other people, they don't want to project all of those things that they're dealing with, insecurities and all of that. And it kind of frustrates me at least to not be able to date back that far, or if it's still there, not being able to relive it. And it's just a frustrating experience. And sometimes when I enter those sessions, I'm kind of just like, I want to talk about it and I want to get to that place, but then I don't know how to, or I don't know how to access it. If as you're telling me, it is still there. I don't know how to access it or grasp it, or kind of like, all right, let me just sit there. I can't obviously replay what happened, but trying to revisit myself during that time and the things that I've experienced and trying to move past it or at least come to terms with it is something that I still struggle with to this day. And I'm trying to figure out that difficulty. because I mean, I've talked about it a lot, but um, my dynamic growing up, I obviously had, you know, a good amount of things, but there was the certain dynamic in my parents' relationship that I felt like either, you know, I wasn't enough during that time, or either felt like I wasn't chosen, or why was I not accepted, or why did I not have a, you know, a good relationship with my father growing up, and why do I still not have a good relationship with him even though I
Mm.
want to. And it's a lot of those things that even I still struggle with to this day, trying to access that and not hold resentment or hold a grudge, or um, trying to talk about it, and not get to a place where if he's no longer on this earth, that I don't regret that I had a conversation with him. So those are just kind of some of the things that, at least to that point, that I still struggle with, and I know if I still struggle with, so many other people do as well.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing about that.
Yeah.
First off, that you're aware of all those things is huge. So there's a few things I want to say to you, but what I want to say to you is, please have patience with yourself. Is first. It's a journey. Healing is a journey, and you might not be. There's different avenues of healing that you might just not have tried something yet that has clicked for you. That was the case for me. Until you will find something that clicks for you on how to release it. You know, for me, analyzing it, going inside it, reliving it, didn't help either. Right? But you seem at a point that you're ready to let go. The other one is when you walked into the gym, were you doing the 80s right away? First time you ever walked into the gym, the 80s shoulder press? Of course not. You got to start small. Even that's your motto.
Yeah.
So when you learn how to throw away more medium stress, when you learn how to release and let go of more simple emotions, like someone cut you off while you were driving, or someone said something that bothered you, or something a little bit lighter, okay, than this deep childhood trauma, that will get the ball rolling of your mind of acceptance, of your mind of clicking in your heart. Because a lot of time we're trying to figure out in our head. This is not a game of the head. Right? I used analytics a lot in my life, try to figure out things. This is a game of the heart. It's something higher. There's more to us than just our analytical mind. And that's where that healing has to come from, and that forgiveness needs to come from. It's not something that's logical, right? But it's very ingrained. So please have patience with yourself. You can get to a place where you do heal and where you do forgive and where you do feel okay with it. You will still know how hard it was and all those things, but you can get to a place that's better.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Um, why does it seem so that society, or us as people, we're so addicted to stress and trauma?
It's so true. Our brain is designed that way. You may have heard. I mean, we were hunter gatherers, right? We were cavemen at one time. It's super interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Like you have to stop and ask yourself these kind of conscious questions. Like it's 2024. If you told somebody in a year, even 500, 2024, it's like very futuristic. And in future from now, it'll be the past. But many people, what I'm trying to say is, many people came before us, and actually we inherited a lot of things. And this is really cool. There's a lot of science behind this now. Even in our DNA, the ways we react to things comes from even what we inherited. This used to be just like spiritual woo woo talk, but now there's actually science on this, that actually you can inherit the traumas, and you can inherit, and you might have more of a makeup from like your great 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 grandpa who you never met, and you have no idea what he went through. And even if you never met your parents, that's just how the breakdown can be in your DNA, right? But our brain was designed to look for the threat. So it's more that stress, that negativity has a power, right? It has a power to always look for the threat. Look at what's not going on right in my life, right? But we have to train ourselves. I don't know. Have you ever played this game? Can I play a little game
Yeah.
about training yourself the other way? Because there is studies that you can train your brain to go the other way. Of course, the healing, what we talked about, your natural true self, I promise you, is positive.
Okay.
Just like when you were a kid, you were more positive than you are, more open and more positive, all those things.
Yeah.
But we can actually do work to train too. And one of them is gratitude practices.
Mm.
The key with gratitude practices, we need to practice sincerity. So that's where meditation and gratitude together really helps. But if we look around this room here, Let's see. You ready? I'll give you 15 seconds. How many things can you find that are the color red? And like if I was gonna give you $1 million, like really try to look. All right, ready? Go for 20 seconds.
Uh,
All right, the thing on the camera, that
yeah,
there,
that's
the
red.
the button,
Tripod.
um, some
My
tag on my
keys.
shoe.
My
This
keys.
here,
Bottle opener.
fire thing there. All right, how many
This
how many
one.
how many did you get?
3, 4.
Right. While you were doing that, you weren't focused on black, right? If I
Yeah.
told you how many things are black, obviously there's a lot of black things, but while you were zoned in on the red, you're looking for the red. It's a good exercise to show you get what you look for.
Hmm.
That's how our RES works. So you can cultivate the muscle of gratitude. It's a muscle that you got to keep cultivating. People prayed on their knees last night for stuff that we have. That's a fact. But we take it for granted. We're always looking at what I don't have, what's next. And that's why I'm not against money, but that's why it's not the answer to your peace and your inner peace and healing inside. You will still that feeling that you have of like trauma, whatever, even you get fame, success, money, that won't go away just from money or fame or success. I'm not there's nothing wrong with money, fame, or success, but I just want to make that clear. If that was true, there would be no billionaires in history that committed suicide, but unfortunately that's happened.
And unfortunately, a lot of those were men, and it seems like that's the demographic now that is committing the suicide. Is a lot of them are men, and I don't think that we tend enough to them. I think now we're doing a way better job of it, but just not even just men. I think every community should be attended for, regardless of what you identify, regardless of who you are. I think that we should all be attended for in this light of we're all human, regardless, or whatever ideology, whatever gender, whatever sexuality you are, religion, doesn't matter. We're all human at the end of the day. Um, and with a country and a world that is so divided now, man, is it hard to kind of link arms, for a backlit term, with one another. And then, just when I think about all the things that are going on in our world, like, what's going on in Israel and Sweden and all of those things, how can we kind of just see ourselves as human instead of like trying to identify them as just different people or whatever somebody classes them as? How can we kind of become more unified, at least with some spiritual practices or some wellness practices?
100%. That's everything, right? I'm for unity. Like we all love kumbaya and unity, and people are, oh, it's unrealistic. I really believe that we're headed there because it's better. And that's actually the truth of it. Like all that stuff you talked about, race, religion, when you look from a consciousness perspective, like look to animals. Does a dog say like, "Oh, that's a white dog. He's gonna do this or that or that"? They don't have that. So really, it's a low level consciousness thing. This division, right? And this and unfortunately, divide and conquer has been used on us, right? And it keeps getting more and more and more that way. But like I said in the beginning, I really believe the universe is running the show, and good beats evil every time at the end of the day, though, at the end of the day. So we just have to do our best to play our part in that. But I believe that we are in a consciousness shift right now. I believe we're in the start of that, and little by little people will wake up. Unfortunately, things sometimes have to get worse before they get better, right? I do having conversations with each other. We have to have the open heart to have conversations with each other. But if the consciousness doesn't change, nothing changes, brother. That's the thing, right? What I talked about, that taking the pictures, right, with the camera. So everybody has their own pictures of what they think is right and just try to live for themselves and protect themselves. That's what causes the problems. But ultimately, that's not truly who you are. You're something much greater than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can when we get beyond that, then we can see that's the case. And actually, the mind that brings happiness is the one that wishes for others to live better lives. That's actually the mind that brings happiness. It's Dalai Lama who has a quote: "If you want to be happy, be compassionate. Right? If you want others to be happy, be compassionate." So that's everything. Once you realize something's better too, which society eventually will realize. Oh, instead of being with the the politics and this, that. Can you believe they said this? They said that. Fighting, 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 fighting. Wait, peace is a way better. You know, for me, it was like that realization too. Like, oh, then like being like suicidal addiction, like chasing temporary pleasures. Like, wait a second, like actually being disciplined is actually better. Feels better. You know what I mean? So I think we will realize that it feels better, and yeah, the universe is running the show at the end of the day too. That people start to wake up and say, oh, like they say, man makes evil, but God turns it for good. So I really believe that, and bit by bit, and I think that's shown. The negativity is shown, but I think there's more people than we know that really want that unity. Because we're all in our core, we all are the same too. We all have God within us, universe within us, truth within us, whatever words you want to use. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're discounting. That one can awaken, and then oh wait, if we actually work together and help each other and support each other, actually we can get along. Doesn't mean we still can't be competitive and this that, but we can actually get along. But I believe it has to be a consciousness shift. I believe it has to be a union with the universe, the truth. All of our problems come from not being one with the universe, the truth. You're not spiritual, you can say the present moment, nature. Not being really here and now and being who I'm supposed to be, who I was born as. That's where all of our problems come from.
There's so much. I love and I want to be able to think that. I think that we can become together in peace and unity. But then there's like a part of me. This is something that obviously I never talked about, but like there's a part of me that if we do that, I think the world leaders know that if we all come together as one, I think we're a lot more than they are. And how much chaos that would bring if everybody on the earth came together as one and we all were, working together and, F you guys and all this. How much that would actually bring way more chaos than it would bring peace. Because now we're having this battle with us and the world leaders, and we're able to put everything aside. But if we come together, it's like I've seen so many shows that one of the examples is the 100, and I remember everybody coming together to, take down some of the best leaders and people that was ruling them and trying to dictate. But then, like you said, this consciousness shift, they're like, this is really not as good for us. It's the aha moment that came to mind was, the kumbaya and how you've spoken about. And I wonder if we do that, if we all come together as one and we all work for one another, then what would that bring for the rest of the world? Because it's never been a thing that's happened before.
I love this. Well, there is some, if you can look at like some smaller examples, right? But not as a necessarily as a whole, unless you say in the beginning we were like that at some point as like humans before we didn't even talk for thousands of years, right? Very simple, just like eat and that. It's interesting, our life. I love that. That's actually really what drives me the most is what you're talking about. The thing is to realize it would just take time. The jig is up, man. That's why I said the universe is doing everything. Look how much in our lifetime, even so far, the amount of level of people who trust what comes out of any politician's mouth is very low.
Just in 2024 too.
And everything's exposed, right? Yeah. Just like the internet can be used bad, it can be used for good. It's been used, for good so far because we're getting a lot of younger people, or like, do you watch like mainstream news?
Not as much, no.
Of course, like you could check in, but you don't take everything as a fact, like for, what comes in on your phone, right? Yeah. And so the jig is up, and it's just going to take time. It will take time that we need. At some point, we start to realize, like, wait, we need leaders who are conscious. Wait, did you see the guy who runs El Salvador? Did you ever see this guy? Man, you got to watch his interview. I'll send it to you. So he's a president of El Salvador, right? If you talk about like conscious leader, I don't know him personally, right? But he was like entrepreneur, early 40s, and he ran for president of El Salvador, the most dangerous country in the world at the time that he ran for it, in total chaos, right? And he ran as a different party, which was Nuevas Ideas, New Ideas, and he won. And he was the only person ever to win out of not the. They also had a two-party system, and he completely shifted in 4 years. They went to being the safest country in South America,
Mm.
and he said he did it through spirituality. He's very interesting too. He's not that country is mostly Catholic, but he's not actually. He's just like pretty open minded, but he just prays to God. But he said it's a spiritual war, because he said the MS-13 is what was running the country, but he said they're actually like demonic too. That's not like that's part of their thing. Like, but he's like it's a spiritual war. So that showed me too what could be possible. But I think it will take time. But people start to realize, right? Like even we're like, man, like what are we gonna do? Like this is the choices you're gonna give us. Like people are conscious now. They're not just following, right? The jig is up, man. We're living in a great time, man. It's a lot of things gonna happen in our life. I could die tomorrow, but if I live long, a lot of things gonna happen in our lifespan that are gonna get changed for good. That's why I'm saying I really believe like it started before this, but there's big shift happening that we're going towards truth, though. The truth of things. Things are getting exposed. You need to have integrity, right? It's not going. So now we can see, wait, they gave money for this or that. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Even yeah, there's so many. Did you see the movie Sound of Freedom?
I didn't know.
Man, that movie
Great movie.
it will really like move you emotionally. It's tough to watch. It's about the childhood sex trafficking, but it's a actual like major picture. Very well made. It's kind of like a real life version of like Taken, like
Mm.
how this FBI agent like saving, but it shows you the politicians know that's going on and they give money here just to look the other way so the gangs can sell the kids because a kid can get sold like a 20 times more makes 20 times more profit than any drug or whatever. So the gangs they just care about the money, right? And then the cartels are running everything, and then but somehow they're stealing the kids from America, bring them in, or stealing the kids from here and there, and then these guys are coming in from America, flying in to do all that kind of weird stuff with the kids, and that stuff actually this is not like just a movie of fake stuff. This is actually stuff that goes on, and you look at it and you go, how does it happen? It's because we're compromised by greed, by money, by lust, by all these things. So, and it's not about pointing our fingers at other people. We need to look at myself. What are the hypocrisies within myself? That's the real work. What are the hypocrisies within myself? How can I really be the best person I can be? You
Yeah.
know?
I've started to watch a little bit of the show called The Blacklist, and then I've watched Prison Break. I've never watched these two shows, but my girlfriend introduced me to these two shows,
They're
and
very popular. I haven't either.
yeah, and there's these two correlations that I've seen in the show. Like the main character, I'll give a brief summary. Main character Raymond Reddington is the most wanted fugitive, whatever. And there's been a lot of things that he's done within the show that the FBI he ends up working with the FBI, and the FBI just looks the other way on what he's doing. They don't realize, like, obviously, yes, he's going to this blacklist and looking at these people and trying to figure out and trying to catch these people. But he ends up starting to kill a lot of those people. And then the FBI, there's this constant theme of them just looking away, government officials looking away, not noticing what's going on here, that the most wanted fugitive is working with this. And even in Prison Break, there's this thing called the man, I forgot what it's called, but essentially the Secret Service is working for the vice president, and the vice president is basically giving orders that we're framing this person for murder. They didn't kill him. The one of the main characters, you end up finding out. Spoiler alert if you're watching, but we start
Wow.
see pieces together, like they got framed for murder because of his dad, and they framed an innocent person to make it seem like the vice president was killed, but the vice president is still alive.
Wow.
The wife just took over, or I think it was the sister just took over. Her brother was the vice president. She just took over, and now he's living in this whole thing. But it comes to this idea that if it's being used in the show, this stuff is really happening, right? Like I try to look through the lines, like this stuff is easily transferable, and they're giving us subliminal messages that the FBI or the Secret Service is doing all these corrupt things, or the government officials is doing all these corrupt things that we don't even know about and we're not even aware of. And in the age of the 2024, there's been so many things that have came out and truths that have came out, and we see all these people, the celebrities that we look up to and we used to
Mm.
listen to. It's happened a lot in the music industry. They're not who they say they were, or they did so many demonic things, or crazy things, or just evil things that they've done. And we live now in at least for the year of 2024. So many things are being exposed. And I think it all started with, for me personally, I think it all started with Cat Williams going on Shannon Sharp's
Mm.
podcast. I'm not sure if you watched it, but it's one of the most watched podcasts, I think, of 2024,
Yeah, yeah.
and possibly maybe ever. And just so many things that he talked about, and so many truths that he brought up that we later found out he was right. And it's like, we didn't listen to the guy that was on the inside.
Right.
We listen to people word of mouth, and we realized their word wasn't as good as their bond. And it's just an age of social media of 2024. We've kind of seen all these things come to light. But it's to that point, that whole spiel, that whole rant was to that point of, that's what it's all for, is the desire and the need for more. And I guess something that I really ask myself a lot, like, what is more, and why do we really want this more money, more status, more fame, more success, whatever? Why can we never kind of be content with where we are currently, and why are we always looking for that next thing?
Because definitely we have a void inside that only the universe, God, Allah, Buddha, Hashem, whatever words you want to use, can fill. That's it. That's what I believe. Or your higher self, your true self, and being connected with that existence and living in your truth and living as who you were born to be, then we would not be a prisoner or slave to that. But this is in so a little bit on me, like how I studied spirituality, because I was very, and what you're talking about is very aligned, bro. When I was in my early 20s, I don't even like the word conspiracies, but I was heavy into it, but it to a degree that it wasn't good, right? Because I had a lot of trust issues in my life. So then with those trust issues too, I also, like, religion was not for me too. Personally, I'm not a look. I help everyone of every single religion, even I've helped pastors and rabbis, whoever. Okay. But my belief is, like I was saying, the existence of all the same names. It's the same existence, but we just didn't understand it. So when I actually went to study, like actually read, like, if you actually, it's very interesting. You look at somebody who talks about Jesus like with conviction. It's like, wow, like this, like, damn, like I should go to church. You know what I mean? If you watch, you see the Jews, it's like they're very diligent, like in what they're doing. There must be something to this. Like I should study what's going on. And they got it first, and like maybe that's right. And then you see in Islam, like they're praying 5 times a day, like no matter where they are. Like, wow, like maybe that's right. Like, and then you start getting into Buddhism, Hinduism. Wow. But when I read it, they're taught the same existence. How I take it was trying to get that message out to us. But we took it and changed it and made it our own. But I love universal truths. It's not like Buddha was like, hey, Jesus, say God's within you. But they talked about the same thing. Judaism also talks about God's within you. Hinduism also talks about the universe is within you. All of them say it's within us. And all of them talk about, too, this is one main one, that while we're alive, the main point of our life is to go to heaven, or go to the true world, or go to the present moment. That's the whole journey of why we're here in the first place. They all say that. And in order to do that, what I'm getting to with your question is, they all talk about too, and whether you talk about even Native Americans, like the wolf story, you ever hear that one? There's this good and bad side, right? Or there's the ego and true self, right? There's this, devil angel on the side. We've all seen it in a cartoon, right? And we have a choice to try to choose. You seek out and you shall find, and we have a choice to try to answer that call in our heart to go towards a connection, with that existence. And when you go in your inner world, and it's within all of us, and that's the thing that's so I just talk from research. Anything that I'm saying, I'm never. I know I get like enthusiastic. So it sounds like, anyway, but I really what helped me the most is what I'm talking about, and what makes me the happiest is this feeling like being wrapped in love from the universe, as I was raised, God, truth, that existence. And that there's nothing that can top that, right? And of course, there's going to be the natural human emotions of life, but when you're grounded in that, like truly, not from like a false faith, because that didn't work for me because I had such bad those trust trust issues. I couldn't just like, hey, this is it. I had to really get to a point of connecting with that existence and feeling that within, and then that's the only thing that could fill the void. And of course, from there, you can be successful financially. You can have better relationships, all those things, because you become actually the version of yourself who you were born to be. It's just a priority shift of where it is in your mind. Because if those other things are above your truth, then you'll never be satisfied. Do you know what I'm saying? But when you're like your truth self, your higher self, the universe, being a good person, all those things, that's first, then it flows, then you can live a good life. And that's the ultimate journey of why we're here.
So, what do you believe is the point of religion? And if you don't identify with a religion right now, are you in search of enlightenment?
No, so I'm comfortable in my search. And yeah, I believe that all the religions speak of truth, but I believe that the point is we have to become truth. Yeah. All religions speak of truth, but my belief is that we have to actually become how Jesus was talking about, or how Moses was talking about, or how Muhammad was talking about, or how Buddha was talking about, not just read and memorize. And that's my personal belief.
Do you believe? Do you think that that's why some people steer of like mindful practices and meditations because they don't like the truth?
Well, I don't think so, because yeah, it can be for some people,
Yeah.
but that's the problem with that can be the problem, right? That's not actually what it's talking about then, from my view.
Yeah.
Uh, I would never tell somebody don't go to church. Like if church helps you, that's awesome, man. If mosque helps you, if synagogue helps you, that's awesome. I would never say that. But unfortunately, now it's more open minded. Like, but some churches will say don't meditate, right?
Mhm.
Even though it says meditate in the Bible many times,
Mhm.
right? But because there's that frame of mind and there's that fear of these kind of things, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, if something is good for you, like if you're so even put it this way, if you're praying but you have a bunch of thoughts in your head, like you can't even connect,
Yeah.
right? So actually, meditation should help you in that. There's nothing to fear in that, but unfortunately, there's a lot of fear and a lot of frameworks of that, right? Something I'd like to talk about is like, you know, I study that Jesus was killed when he was here, right?
Mhm.
Um, if the same person from more than 2,000 years ago, that we don't know what he looked like, but maybe from where he was Jewish, maybe Middle Eastern type looking from Israel, that if he was in Times Square right now, and the word he used for God was Allah, he spoke Aramaic, right? So if he's saying Allah, blah, blah, he's speaking Aramaic in Times Square right now, they put him in jail again or kill him. That's my belief. So my point is like to become how he was actually talking about. That's the real message. And a lot of churches are actually teaching that now. They don't teach God as this guy in the sky with a beard. They don't even teach that anymore. If you really read it, that's not what it is. That's where I'm saying all of it is the same. Um, that it's this existence that existed forever before, is here now, will always be here no matter what. That's the own spirit of the universe that is really here, and the point is we gotta connect with that.
Yeah. Hmm.
I went deep with you, Avi. You
Yeah.
you pushed me to go deep.
Good. Um, I guess. Because I guess in my personal search, I don't know. What I really believe in. I do identify, or I do see some things that I'm drawn to in the Buddhist religion, but I don't know. It's just like I feel like when you identify with a religion, this is who you're boxing yourself in to fit this description, right? I'm boxing myself into Catholicism to believe that Jesus was somebody that we died for, or we died for his sins, or I grew up practicing Judaism that Hashem was the only person, that was the only God, and all the other people that are that the Torah talks about in terms of Moses, in terms of Abraham, that all these people did these things, separated the Red Sea, and did all these things that, to me, like, my logical brain can't comprehend. How is that possible?
Of course.
Right? Like, how this burning bush, and how did that happen? Right? And Joe Rogan talked about with Jordan Peterson that there was a
Mm,
study done, or there was something done, that the reason why it was burning is because this whole use of like LSD or mushrooms at the time,
mm,
that they perceived it was burning because either something happened that they took, and now they perceive that bush in terms of now it's burning. So it's like all these things that happen, my brain can't logically comprehend. How is that possible? How are we able to know that that actually happened? Or is it, in a world full of truth or in a world full of lies, we're being fed all this information, and which we're trying to decipher, well, which one is the correct one, and how is it pointing to this overall theme? For me, that's like, it's something I'm in search of. Is I want to believe in something, but I'm not sure which direction to really go in. And I practice Judaism, and I don't currently practice it anymore, so that's not the direction I want to go in. And Catholicism is like, I'm not too sure about that one. And the only one that I could really say is that I would, you know, if I was to choose a religion, would be Buddhism. But I don't know. It's just that constant search that I'm trying to be in, um, and trying to really identify, well, which one do I want to be in, or do I even want to be confined to a religion, or I just want to be agnostic and just believe what I believe and kind of form my own sets of truths. So,
you're in a great place. You just stay open. Stay open, and then you can find it. For me, from what you said, yeah, I was the same way. From my beliefs, most of it is metaphorical, right? That's how I see it. But I do believe that there's truth there, but it's obviously passed down and all these things. But there's truth, and there's true messages, all the way back, even before the Torah. Similar messages of this existence of God and of the purpose of our life, right? But like I said, humans take it and then change it, right? So, and make the rules and all those things. This means this means that, because of what we talked about before. Unfortunately, a lot of it was due to greed and power and all those kind of things too. And some people, even they earnestly try to follow it. It's just not that easy, right? Right. So, but yeah, it's about just truly connecting, but you got to stay open. Like, yeah, even one that's cool, that you studied Judaism before. One rabbi who I help from time to time, then he told me the meditation of letting go is the best repentance he ever did, because he said, like, teshuvah, that word means to give back what you took, is how he explained to me. So, like, we're always controlling and holding. We need to give back what we took. And he feels like a soul relief, like oh, this is great repentance. But it's just however connect to you. But I believe, yeah, I don't think, like you said, do whatever, follow your truth, right? But stay open, and then you can find the answers. But for mine, understanding and my belief, to become is the important part. That's the message of all of them: to become, not to worship, not to make rules and all these kind of things, but to actually become a person who loves the truth over everything else, who loves God over everything else, who is of good nature, right? Who at the end of the day would choose for the betterment of the world versus my own personal need. You know what I'm saying? So, in order to, that's the real work of any of the major religions. And that's why, humans are incomplete. So that's why we needed religion. We forget that, like, humans are incomplete because they're separate from God. That's the same story in any of the religions, whether it's Adam and Eve or other religions. We lost our way. We turned our back on that existence. So the journey is to go back to that existence while we are alive. Go back to that existence and be born and live as that existence. Even You know, maha parinirvana. Most people think of that as just as like, oh, like a high, like you talked about enlightenment. That word means die a clean death of the ego. So that's I I believe that's what we're meant to overcome while we're here. And they believe you keep coming back. I'm not trying to keep coming back, man. I'm trying. If look, I'll surrender to it, but um, going. I'd rather go to heaven while living than guess. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You talk there seems to be an art of letting go of like detachment,
Mm,
and it's something that, man, are we all trying to figure out?
mm,
Like, how do we let go, or how do we detach from these things, and how do we even know, number one, if we're attached, but number two, how do we kind of, if we know we're attached, is that where it starts? Like, all right, I realized I'm attached to this watch, and I really like this watch because whatever. And is it being conscious about that I know that I'm attached to the watch, or is it, okay, I don't realize that I'm attached to the watch, but I know that I have to let this piece go for whatever reason. How can we kind of incorporate detachment, or letting go? Because it seems to me that it's this thing that once you can realize how to let go, it seems that's where life gets really good.
mm. No doubt about it. Because we live as a slave when we're attached. That's the point, right? And a lot of we always go to material things for that point, but it's like it's just about not being a slave to it. It doesn't matter. I'm wearing a watch too. I'm wearing a suit, right? But it's just about not being attached, right? When you're attached, it means you're a prisoner to it, right? So I'm gonna make it very practical. Give you a very practical exercise. Can you rip out one of those pages? Is it
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. Let's pick this one. Hopefully it rips the.
So once again, I want you to not go for anything too deep. I want you to maybe even something you're comfortable. What's a recent time that you were a little bit stressed or overthinking or worried?
No, I mean, I'm not going to be able to not go deep, so I'm going to go deep. Do you want me to write it down?
Not too deep, not too deep,
Okay.
because I want you to really feel like. So let's just do today. Today
Okay.
you had that like some uncomfortability, like just like anything, man. When
Um,
you were on the way over here, you could have had some thoughts or like whatever.
I always stress about like how good the podcast is going to be, like how good the episode is going to be.
Very good. So let's bring a specific snapshot, like when you were having that thought, whether it was setting up the cameras
Mm-hmm.
or just bring up one specific snapshot
You want me to write it down?
and write it down. Yeah. And feel like you're releasing it as you write it too. Meditation is a practice of the heart. So you're getting in tune of going from that analytical mind to your heart, of the feeling of releasing it through the pen. And then also even make like a little box picture.
Box picture?
like a stick figure of
Okay.
yourself.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Don't mind my handwriting.
No, I'm not gonna read it. It's okay. Journaling is also very good meditative practice.
Yeah, man.
And then, okay, that's good. It's okay like that. You don't have to draw it.
Okay.
So then, do you have trash over there? No. So let's just.
Yeah, I do have a dress
Oh, you
actually.
do? You
Yeah,
do?
yeah.
So I want to have maybe. Can I come? I'll put the trash
That side?
on the top of here.
Okay.
Can you put it on top of here?
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
sit back down.
Yeah, I got it. I'll bring it.
So this is just very very simple physical exercise, right? I'm gonna do some meditation with you after.
Okay.
But take that paper,
Uh-huh.
and I want you to think like let's first think about it too. Is that moment actually alive now?
No.
And what kind of feelings are in there?
Anxiety?
Does it serve you to hold on to that?
No, there's
So it's
not.
empowering yourself to real. No, I don't. Like, why am I holding that? Do you want to hold that today, tomorrow, next day?
No.
So I want you to really feel like crumble it up or rip it and put it to the trash and think that you're releasing it. You don't need it anymore. Make that decision and release it. Okay. It's very simple. It's not like you don't lift one weight and your bicep gets huge, right? But this is just you asked me for a practical example of letting go. So I
Yeah.
just give you a little tool.
So
But
is that something I could do for anything that I'm really stressed about? It's like just journal it, or
Of
write it
course,
down?
I'm gonna after this, I'm gonna meditate with you, and I'm gonna show you how to do it. Without having to even do that physically,
Okay.
but with the mind being able to observe and release. But it's something that someone doesn't get in super good shape overnight. It's very simple. There's just universal principles. Someone doesn't go from being super out of shape to being in shape, right? Um, Overnight. Our mind is like that, man. From all the
Yeah.
stuff that we hold. So it takes like a month of consistently doing to even see it. Some people feel lighter right away, but you know what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
always rather under promise, over deliver.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Interesting. It seems it's like it's as simple as that. Just doing
it's bro. Truths are simple.
it.
Truths are simple. Even Einstein said like simple. Someone who actually knows something explain it simply.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you can't explain a super complex idea and kind of concise it down to somebody that,
I think
like the
that's the
book for
actual quote.
dummies, like
That's what it is.
yeah.
That's what any think about anybody who's exceeded. Actually, that's what they do. Even the iPhone, they tried. I think they tried the test with like 5-year-olds or something. That's what when they made like click the picture. They made it like very simple. The
Yeah.
interface.
Man. So many things that it's kind of crazy to just realize how much can really be stored up here, and how much we.
You look a little lighter, actually.
Yeah, I do. Thank
You
you.
threw it away very sincerely. That's why.
Yeah, because I mean it's just there's a lot of things that I know. Number one, I stress over, and number two, it's just I know how many other people probably stress over either the same things or similar things or not so complex things or whatever it is. It to me it's just like releasing that is really the hardest part. Um, and it does seem like stress is really the number one, like you said, the number one thing that really causes cancer, causes sickness. And I can't remember a time it's. I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole conspiracy that I have, but is that to me that sometimes feels like the reason why we get sick in the first place.
Yes. I mean, even if you look at the word dis-ease, right? You're at unease.
Yeah.
But of course, you still can't. We inherit things as we talked about before too. But I do believe that the hospitals are packed, right? And they're packed majority from what? From what we eat, from having stress, like you just said,
Yeah.
right? So, and from not moving. If you, those three things, first would be stress, next would be eating, and the next would be moving. Well, all of them are important, right? But if everyone actually did those three things, how many diseases would actually go away? And there's many studies on this. You can increase your telomeres, like anti-aging, actually when you meditate and when you eat healthy and when you exercise, right?
Mm.
So there is a movement in that too. I'm so happy. I'm partnered with a hospital right now that I do sessions 1 to 2 times a week. That they're actually, it's so cool that they are actually open to helping the community and employees to learn mindful tools of how to relieve the stress. And they also teach like nutritional classes and exercise classes too, like for the community.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I lived in Korea for almost a year, and that's one thing I took away there is like I would see older people, like they don't have the same problems as us. Like so many people have problems that I meet, and it can still happen, but it's more rare that they have to take care of the parents even when they get to like 70s. These people, they're like moving around because they ate healthy their whole life. They're exercising, they're meditating, and then they just live happily and they move around a lot, and then they just die one day. And it's not like that sad because they were like 100 and then just died one day. You know what I mean? And they looked at it in a different way, not just like, oh, there's a problem, take the medicine, or not like, oh wait, I should have even yeah, anyway, like I'm overweight, I should take pills for that. It's like I understand there could be different circumstances, but let's look at the root cause. How about let's really try to eat healthier? I know it's not easy, but let's try to eat healthier and exercise bit by bit, right?
Yeah.
We always want the quick fix. Yeah.
Quick is never better in any sense of it. Success, health, anything that you're really trying to build. What do you get by the only thing that you get by getting there quicker is number one, your ego is incredibly inflated, or it's not as efficient, or the quality is not as good. But the only thing that you get by getting there quicker or doing something quicker is just that satisfaction that it's done. But more or less, the reason why, some people enjoy like soul food is because of how diligent that process is, right? How detailed that process is. And I think a lot of us need to be cooked a little bit more instead of just, I could just take this and then all of a sudden health is better or the success is here because I did it quickly, or all of these things. And I mean, I definitely struggle with that a lot. I know for sure is the process of things, but getting there quicker doesn't mean that it's better or it's way more quality. It just means that you just did it a faster way. And life is a marathon, life is a journey. Life is a consistent getting up every day, putting one foot in front of the other, becoming 1% better, however you want to look at it. But regardless if you did it 5 days, 10 days, a year, 10 years from now,
Mm.
by getting there faster, the only thing you're accomplishing is just the satisfaction that it's done. But over time, the character is built. Over time,
Mm.
the process of getting up every day and doing what you wanted to do or getting to that goal, you realize that it's not even about the goal at that point. It's the process of doing it bit by bit and taking one step and following the mountain and climbing up the mountain instead of just getting to the rooftop or getting to that mountaintop. And then once you look down, it's like you realize there's another mountain to climb, you know? It's the whole process of this. Sometimes why I believe that we're even on this earth is we have to get there at the point of when we may believe that it may not be fit or the time, like, even just before this podcast, I'm right where I need to be.
Mm.
And that's something that I struggle with, is trying to trust that the universe, that even though I don't want to be here, I'm right on time and I'm not late.
Why do you think you have, and that was beautifully put, everything you just put. Why do you think you have trouble trusting that?
Well, because there's no concrete truth there. I'm believing in something that there's no answer to. Or not even that there's no answer to, but it's uncertainty. And sometimes I don't like uncertainty.
Sure. We can all struggle with that. I
Yeah.
think it goes back to spirituality and faith and all those things. And this is something that everyone struggles with. Sometimes I can be impatient too, for sure. But it's the macro. It's looking at the macro. And I just heard this Wayne Dyer quote yesterday. A mantra he was saying, or an affirmation, that I have infinite patience at fulfilling my destiny. And he was talking about, because that's when I'm supposed to fulfill it. It doesn't mean not to do anything. But when you're in service of, I'm on time, it doesn't mean be lazy and don't do anything. That's the trick. Keep being hard, which without being so attached to getting the result right now. And you hear all those stories of people think someone's an overnight success. Like that's what's going to happen with you, and it's better to be that way, whenever it is. And people are going to say, "Oh, where did this guy come from with the podcast?" Or whatever. You don't know what kind of realms you're going to get in. Like, just be open to, like, I want to fulfill what I'm meant to fulfill, and I'm open, and I want to play that game, and I want to enjoy playing that game and do my best. You're doing it already. You prepare today. You come do the podcast. You're doing a lot of things. Like, it's a balance of, we go to a degree of being too hard on ourselves to where we're like beating ourselves up to where it's not helpful. We have to be just like the universe loves us, but is also firm with us too. We need to be like, just like the best friends or best parents are very loving and accepting, but also they'll be firm with you when you're out of line. That's how we have to be. But they're not going to beat you up when you make a mistake, or like, yo, you don't have this or you don't have that. But it goes back to too, comparison, comparison, comparison. If there's one thing to work on too, man, don't compare it to anyone. Blinders, blinders, blinders. I know it's not easy, but blinders, and practice being happy for others, man. Like, that's great. I like, genuinely, just like, why can't I genuinely be happy that they got it? I've been doing this podcast that someone else got it before me, or one girl posts one video and then she's blown up, or this kind of thing, right? Um, why can't that happen to me? Let's be happy. That's their journey. I'm happy for them. I'm on my journey. You know, I know what's meant to be. You know, just trust what's meant to be. It's so cliche, trust the process, but there's a reason why there's those sayings, right? And just hour by hour, do your best. And when you cultivate the mind to have gratitude, that is what's gonna win everything. Like how grateful it is, man. Like your younger self will be very proud of you, what you're doing right now. And it's so grateful we can be in this place. We got AC, we're in New York City. Like there's people in jail for like things they didn't do right now. Like it's entitlement that I think that couldn't be me. That could be me, you know. Um, you know, I could definitely be in jail. I could be dead. I could be, you know, all those things. My dad was in jail when I was a kid. My brother has one leg now. It's that's just in my family, but we can look at whoever. Did you see? I know you watch Stephen Bartlett's podcast. Did you see oh
Francis Ngannou.
Francis
Yes,
Ngannou,
Francis
man? Oh
Ngannou.
my
That
God,
that
that
story
was
was epic. Yeah,
yo. They need to make a movie on that.
man, he's so, and like that was. I wanted to have him dive deeper into like what he was feeling towards the end, but I understand like not everybody deserves that sort of access to actually know how he's feeling or whatever. Um, but yeah, that was a great story. That was a great story.
It's crazy, like escaping.
Yeah,
Like wow.
yeah,
And then he's like, to escape from Africa to Europe and that journey, drinking water with dead animals in it, and you're like, after listening to that, I was like, I could not complain about
anything.
anything,
Yeah,
you know. And then he was like 25, 26 too,
yeah,
and he never had any professional sports experience. What's like sports experience at all? Sleeping in the back of a gym, he just knew he could fight, or on the parking lot, and then he tells him, you can't make that. That's an unbelievable story.
where do you pull your gratitude from?
Where I pull my gratitude from?
Yeah,
I think it starts with the smallest things, man. It starts with the smallest things. It starts with having the openness and courage to really allow yourself to
yeah,
be grateful for even the smallest things, and practice that. Since allow yourself to sincerely feel grateful for the smallest things, and it allows yourself to too. If you can't find what you, some people say they can't think of what they're grateful for. Ask yourself how worse can things be. Then you can really see, man. You don't know how worse things can be, bro. You know, think about when you were locked in the house in 2020, and you were like, damn, I can't wait. We got that right now. We got summer in New York. You know, outside. That's what we wished for, but we take it for granted. You know, we always want what we don't have. So, but it's the practice of writing out what you're thankful for. I do gratitude writing every day, and if you do it for 60 days, it will change your brain. There's studies at Stanford that they did together with Tony Robbins.
mm,
Gratitude journaling for 60 days straight will change your brain to actually look at more of what you're grateful for and to make you happier. So, but it's got to be done sincerely, and that's where meditation helps with. But we don't recognize too sometimes that, wait, I'm not being sincere. Just sincerity is something to grow, right? It's not. It's being able to be my true self, right? And then when you really tap into that true self, then you can be thankful too. And also when you tap into your true self, there's nothing to fear. Even though, you know, fears can come up, but there's nothing to fear if I'm actually being who I was born to be. Then it's like, if that's not meant for me, then it's not going to happen. That kind of attitude, right? But that gratitude is like, when you think about it, everything is thankful. Even the small, it's thankful to have a microphone. It's thankful to have a camera. It's thankful. How about eyes to be able to see, man? You know, wow. How about that I can walk? I'm healthy. Oh my God, man. That really,
yeah,
people prayed on their knees yesterday to be healthy, to wake up healthy. I'm super healthy, right? And even whatever you're going through, it can be worse. You know, if you have certain issues going on. It's just we have a choice. Like, am I gonna be, and I was trapped in that mindset, negative. Look at what I don't have. Subconsciously, not even realizing how much of a victim. Man, you know, I can never be happy. I can never trust people. I can never be in a good relationship. I can never, you know, I don't get along with my parents. I don't, you know, this, that, even no matter how much money I make, I'm not going to be satisfied. Like this sucks, man. Like, what's life? I'm just going to live like this and act like I'm okay and go on vacations and spend my money and this and that and then just die. Like, what the hell is the point of that? Like, I don't want to live like that, you know? Um, but then you start to realize, like, wow, how thankful I actually am out of all the people on the earth, even just to be born in the earth in the first place. This is a magical experience. That's what meditation does. It change your perspective to, like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to pay the bill, I got to do the podcast, blah, blah. It changed your perspective to, like, yo, this is a amazing experience to be a human. Like, I get to drink water. It feels good. Eat some food. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, total like consciousness shift. Think about kids. They get super happy and grateful over like small things. Hey, you want ice cream? Yeah, let's go get ice cream. Right? We just does it make sense what I'm saying? Or it's
Yeah.
oh
No, it does.
yeah. To cultivate that attitude of gratitude, we won the lottery of lotteries, man.
Is it always like that for you? Like, is there any days that you don't feel as grateful, or you don't like? Is it always positive days for you, or how do you navigate those negative days if they do come?
For sure. Thank you so much. I'm so thankful to be at a place where, of course, the natural human emotions are going to come to me. The natural things of life are going to come to me. But I better be in a better place from I have over 2 years of retreat experience. I'm not saying that you have to do that, but I've spent like where from morning until night, the only thing I was doing was meditating. I've accumulated time over 2 years. Um I have over 13 years of meditating every day, right? So like it doesn't take that long like I just said, but I better be in a better mental shape from practicing that. Just like if you practice the physical fitness, you better be if you did it in the right way, you better be in better shape. So of course, brother, if somebody dies that I care about, I'm not going to be uh I'm going to take it a lot better and I'm going to get to acceptance a lot quicker, but I'm still going to naturally cry, be sad, these kind of things, right? Um I can have natural impatience. I lose a deal, but I'm so much quicker to go on to, hey, let's go to the next deal. And I learned from that. What did I get wrong? You know what I'm saying? Um, things are gonna happen in life that you're not, but you can get through it easier. Probably the hardest thing for me is like, which I'm getting better. One thing that I continually work on is like, I'm very empathetic. So when you can see someone needs help, but they don't take the steps to actually change and help themselves, I'm getting better and better at that. But that's something that does hurt me because I see my former self in that, and I'm like, man, like you could have such a better life, but you're you keep choosing the wrong choices. But I would say I'm just so thankful. I don't want to brag about that, but I say that in a way of I promise you can get to a place where you feel like you're in a good place too. It took me 2 years of continual work and the work that I do to feel like I'm in more. I wake up and say I'm in an actual good place because I did a lot of inner work though. And look, I'm open and I'm not saying, but right now, thank God, I'm in a good place, been in a good place, and I can be clear on what's in my control and what's not. But am I gonna be happy if something bad happens, to me? Of course not. I'm gonna go through the natural things, but the overthinking, the worrying about things that are out of my control, the why me attitude, these kind of things. That one is thankfully that guy died.
What's been the lowest point in your life?
The lowest point, you know, I usually talk about my early 20s, and I think that it definitely was my earliest point. But I was even suicidal even before that too. Uh First when I my first dream was football, and when I knew that wasn't going to happen, I actually had really thought deeply about suicide during that time too. And then actually one of my close friends committed suicide during that time, and that made me like, wow, I should never do that. But then it's somehow in my early 20s I found myself in that place again where yeah, I was really close to suicide, man. I would have been one of those cases where it's a shock. I just had a friend actually commit suicide a few months ago that it was a shock to everyone. And it happens a lot where it's a shock, right? Because I kept all my stuff so secretive. But I'm talking about I was driving, over 100 miles an hour in my Audi, drinking Jack Daniels, blasting Eminem, like really contemplating. Like I still cared so much what people thought holding my problems. I was going to make it look like an accident. But like really like should I, when a truck's coming, should I try to go over, or should I go over the guardrail here, like that kind of thing. And there were several nights where I would go out and do that, and then come back and go to the club or something and act like nothing even happened, just get so drunk, and high. Um, but nobody knew that was going on with me, you know. And I would say that was the lowest point, but it got to a point where I started to ask myself questions like, I don't want to do this anymore, man. I do not want to do this anymore. This is not going to lead to to a good path. And I'll tell you what stopped me though from suicide, because I think this is helpful. Is what actually stopped me from suicide is that I could not be for sure what happens when you die. Like I couldn't say, like I would go back and forth at that time. Like now I'm so spiritual, right? But at that time I thought like I was like pretty sure that nothing happens, based off my research, like whatever. But at that time, right, you think you know everything at sometimes. But that's what would stop me is like if I honestly ask myself that this, because I'm trying to end the pain, that this will end the pain. Do I know that this will end the pain? And my answer was no. I cannot be that naive to say that, like, just back to what I was saying, all these people religious, they really believe like, what if I'm gonna be in hell, and what if I'm gonna be in pain, or I just don't know if it's gonna end. What if it's just like a dream where I'm like locked inside? Like I would go through those scenarios too. Like I'm like, I can't do it, man. I don't even know if it's gonna end the pain. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I was, just in so much mental pain that I felt like I couldn't go on during those points. But man, to go from that to how I live today, that's why I'm grateful, and that's why I'm trying to give it back. Like, and I'm not trying to gatekeep these powerful meditation methods that I found that help me. And yeah, you can't, whatever you're going through, your capacity to change is like wild. What we're capable of is how we can change and how we can form. When I meet up with my old friends, sometimes they're like shocked, like, you know just a total different person, what I'm into. And I would have never expected, I didn't know meditation was going to help me even, you know, but just when, and different forms of it didn't help that much, but the healing work of releasing, that changed everything for me. And then I just followed that, and I was like, man, like, yeah, first, like, I'm trying to be happy as possibly can be, and then I'll figure out like what I'm going to do with my life career wise or whatever.
I think, I mean, I've come to this conclusion within myself. Number one, thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate that. And I am glad that you're here and you chose to stay here because you are making the world a better place. Um, but number two, I feel like, a lot of this talk has been like gratitude and all of that. And a part of me feels like I've said this countless times when people have asked me, but I genuinely feel like if I was able to make a living off doing podcasting, I would have no complaints in my life. Like if I had the opportunity to talk to people that I feel like are incredibly interesting and have an incredible story, and being able to do that, I would have no complaints. Like if I had Stephen Bartlett's job, I would never complain a day in my life. If I had Joe Rogan's job, being able to interview anybody in the world, getting to talk to anybody in the world, how can I? That's where I feel like my purpose is being able to talk to these incredible minds such as yourself and just having really really great conversations.
Brother, you're going to, so don't worry. But also, that's why also you're meant to, I'm telling you, it's the same what we went back to. Rogan definitely works on his mind a lot, but
Yeah.
you can't, bro. We have no idea what goes on behind the scenes of how stressful like things go. Like I mean, they tried to cancel him several. That has to be
Yeah.
really stressful. Like Stephen Bart, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Different things, relationships, money. This guy screwed you over. You signed the deal for this, and they did that, and then this thing talking about whatever they're telling, they're gonna send a video of you in public, like saying something bad to somebody. Like I don't know, but I come with this scenario. You don't know what they're going through,
Hmm.
so like I said, whatever feeling you have,
Yeah.
until you keep working on it, you are. But then it's all in the right divine timing. Even if you had top podcast, like I said, you could be like, oh, but Stephen Bartlett's got this, you know what I'm saying? Or like, oh, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it seems like that, but that's in your heart for some reason.
Yeah.
That's in your heart for some reason. So all it is you can keep. You're gonna cultivate your belief. Anything you put your mind to, you can do it. Yeah, and there's a reason why you have that in your heart, and you're gonna get it at the right, perfect time. You don't want to get it when you're not supposed to get it. Okay, and what you're learning is helping you so much. Rogan didn't get it overnight either.
Yeah.
And Stephen Bartlett was very successful before that, and he was a CEO, right? Like he was an entrepreneur. Um, you don't want to get it. Just be like, I don't want to get it when I'm not supposed to get it, and then have fun, man. That's the game changer. Is like when you're playing a video game, right? This is one meditative thing too. Okay, You ever play video games before?
Oh, bro, I love video games. I was just playing one yesterday.
So if you're playing, like, you're the person with the controller, it's the same as life. You're not this.
Yeah.
You're the one with the controller.
Mm.
Do you know that's a meditative concept. And then also, like, do you know what I'm saying? Not this. You're the one with the controller. So also, if you're playing a game, if it's super easy, is it fun?
No.
It's not, right? Like, there's a problem if you go on 2K or Madden, you put the mode on easy and just make it like 100 to 10, like there's or whatever, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
When you have a challenge, man, next level, it's fun. You don't think, oh, I'm gonna give up. You think, oh, I'm gonna elevate myself as a gamer. This is fun, right? So you elevate yourself. That's all. Put in the work,
Yeah.
and as time goes by, keep studying, right? Like, keep studying. How did Rogan grow? Oh, this one. How did Chris Williamson grow? How did this one grow? And dissect it and look and what avenues can I take? Oh, I got the equipment now. Oh, I can travel to people. Let me DM 50 people, a night, and da, 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 and what can I do? Oh, I can study this. I can study that. And what can make it better? And then 1 year later, wow. 2 years later, wow. 5 years later, oh, this dude, where did this dude Avi come from? He's overnight success. He's sponsored now.
Yeah.
Because it is, you talked about the 1% better podcast, my brother. That's what it is. And so many people are looking for that instant, but sometimes you're just one person away. You're just one.
You never see it
Yeah,
though like that. Like it. You always. I try to bring myself to that realization as well, but it's so hard to not preach that to myself, but like teach that to myself. And really believe that you're one, that you're always one away. One feature, one guest, one episode, one day.
well, it can be stressful to think that too.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's better for that to happen just like when you're not expecting, which that's when it always does happen.
Yeah. When you least expect it, the episode that you didn't think about that you wanted to drop, or maybe an initial guest that you were like, I was kind of on the fence on, and you dropped that, and then all of a sudden it comes. But I mean, it all derives, from the comparison. It really does. It simply does. And like, even in the example that I gave you, I told you Joe Rogan, I told you Stephen Bartlett. Like, I have no clue what they're going through behind the scenes. I have no clue what stresses or maybe trauma that they're dealing with, or certain things that they're dealing with that I have no knowledge of or no sense of. And I just feel like, looking from the outside in, it looks good, but that's also what social media does as well.
Exactly.
Like, I'm looking from their 30-second highlight reel and not seeing what's actually going on, not seeing the behind the scenes work, or not seeing all the things that's going on in their life. And one of the reasons why I dislike social media is because you're able to see that. You're able to see this mini life that they have, but you don't see everything else that's going on. It's like an iceberg. You only see the tip of the iceberg. You don't see how deep or how much depth there is to this iceberg, but you only just see this kind of short mountaintop, or this short, reference iceberg. I don't get to see what's deep below the surface. The only thing I see is that. And outside of looking in, it does look good, but I think that for me and for anybody listening, it's not as good as it seems. From their point of view, at least, it's not as good as it seems.
And either we just never know what anybody's going through, and also just practice being happy for them. But it's always good to have a pinnacle and learn from the best. Like, that's what's awesome about the internet too. Like, everything's out there. We can learn from the best. You can learn from what they did. And you're the pioneer of your own destiny. But where meditation and gratitude are awesome is you don't have to wait, because it's always going to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be like that. I'm telling you, it's a lure that you've probably had it happen before. Haven't you had it like, when I graduate high school, I'll be good, or like something like that, or like when I get this, like you're in a good relationship right now, right? So like, it's like, when I get in a good relationship, I'll be good, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like,
when I have when I'm able to do podcasting full time, then I'll be
so that's
good.
what you're saying. Yeah. So that's the trick. I promise you, when you get that, you'll have something else. If you keep living in that way. So that's where meditation and gratitude is awesome, is that you don't have to wait for that, you can, like, if you imagine and feel like how that would that be if I wake up and I have the pocket, just that feeling. And it's
Yeah.
like, what's blocking me from living in that type of perspective right now? Well,
Mhm.
it's that I don't have that. No, it's actually the blockages in your mind that you're not actually thankful for what you have right now, you know? So when you work on those blockages, but it's very, very ingrained. Even what we did with writing down and throwing away, the real work is with that. When's the first time that I thought about what if I don't do a good job today, you know? And you might not know the first time, but there's many times in your life before a test when you were 5 years old, before you played basketball, before a basketball game, before, and it's the accumulation of all those things. And that's so patience with yourself. That's what I tell you. But doing the real work, finding, letting go, understanding yourself, then gratitude, patience, and you are right on time, man. You are right on time. You don't want to, yeah, you don't know. I've heard Gary Vee gives these examples like, what if you got it today, blah blah blah, and you were supposed to fly to LA today to interview whoever your favorite guest, and that plane crashed and you died.
Mm.
Like he talks about that a lot. Like like you don't want to like force. You don't look at that side of it. You know.
Yeah. So how do you balance like self-development, personal development, and the compassion and the self-love that you have? Um, how do you balance that? But then how do you balance that? But then how do you also balance like discipline or like motivation within yourself? Like, all right, like a nice little tap on the back, like we need to get back on track.
Sure. To me, that is self love. I think self love needs a total rebranding. Self love is putting your future self in a better place. It's not, oh, I love my bald head. And, you know what I'm saying? It's putting your future self in a better place. Yeah. So to me, that is that. To me, if self love is developing myself every day, spiritually, physically, and mentally. And when you get off track, it's having the mind to get right back on,
Yeah.
right? You're going to get off track. You're human. You're going to make mistakes. So having that grace and compassion with yourself in that way, but having that awareness, we know when we're getting off track, right? We know when things aren't going in the right way.
Yeah. We often do feel
We
that.
know sometimes it takes a little bit more, but we can tell, you're not really hitting it hard at the gym, right? Your mind, your stress is getting too heavy, drinking a little too much, you're doing it. We know,
Yeah.
but it's that's where the practices help and being aware. If you're not aware, then where you're at is awesome because you're getting aware of yourself, right? If you're not aware, you can't change. That's the first step. Awareness, then acceptance. They say there's 3 A's to change anything. Awareness. That's if you don't have awareness, if you don't know your room's dirty, you don't know that you even need to clean it. So let's just use that simple example. Awareness that the room's dirty. Then accepting, yes, in fact, the room is dirty. Next A, action. Clean it, right? So then whatever problem you have, you first got awareness of it. Oh, that's bothering me. Then you have to have the courage to accept it. Okay, that is a problem. Then what actions can I take to be in a better place on that? The you did ask me about the balance wise, but that's my answer. Self love needs a rebranding, I believe, to taking care of yourself is self love, right? And those things will make you a better person overall, taking care of yourself spiritually, physically, and mentally.
Yeah. How do we break those cycles though? Like
Which cycles?
they're just like we know something's bad for us. We know what we're doing is bad for us. We have the awareness, right? But the change is the hardest part.
Mm,
Like I can be aware that the the example, the room is dirty, but
mm.
I haven't changed it or I haven't cleaned it, but I know it's dirty. So how do we break out of that cycle that is obviously detrimental to us, to our mental health, to our overall well-being? How can we kind of break ourselves free?
Action is the answer. Taking action, but then your answer is like, well, I can't even take action. We have a choice, right? To
Yeah.
take action or not. And courage. They say all out of all the virtues, you need courage first. So you need to choose courage. We have a choice to choose courage or cowardice, in everything that we do. And courage is, choosing the truth in our heart. Ultimately, changing our mind. For me, that's what helped everything. Me personally, doing the work of reflecting on my whole life as an observer and releasing what doesn't serve me, that's what naturally made me want to change my habits.
Yeah. Hmm. Interesting. Why do you feel like we're here? Like, what do you think is the purpose of humanity, and why do you think we are we are on this earth?
I believe we are on the earth in order to find our true self. In other words, in order to go to heaven, in order to truly live and experience this world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that's why we were born into the world.
Do you ever worry about? Obviously, I know that you said that you've thought about the other side. What what have you come to terms with now?
I believe that while we're alive, this is my beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
While we're alive, we are meant to find our true self, go to heaven, the land of truth, the land of bliss, whichever words you want to use. And yeah, I believe that it's not that we, as I read it, it's not about going there after we die. It's about going there. It's about doing the work while we're alive, right? And I'm in here together with everyone else. And I'm not to say that on the other side they can't get there. I'm not to say that, but if we just look at it as far as, let's use the example, if someone's physically out of shape, right, and then they cross the street right now and they got ran over by a bus and died, did that person automatically get built like Arnold Schwarzenegger? What do you think? So if I'm not spiritually well, if I'm not connected to the universe, I'm not connected to God, I'm a, have all the false minds, ego, resentment, all these things, and then I died. Why is it that all of a sudden I would become enlightened saint?
Mm-hmm.
That's I know that that's and I'm in this together with all of you. I have people who I care about who passed away too, and I'm not saying they can't get there from other side, but getting I'm not trying to find see God with that with the mind that's messed up. I'm trying to do my best. I'm do my best to be who I was born to be and to be aligned in that way. Not wait. And first off, we were tricked by that. We never know when we die. I hope I live long, healthy life. I take care of myself. I eat healthy. I exercise. But I'm not in control of that, right? So that's what I believe. Deep, deep, deep question, my man. But everyone has, and that took, brother, for that question. You're coming from someone I told you bad trust issues. Okay, from my whole life, and I really researched and went back and forth. Oh, I believe this. Oh, reincarnation for sure. Is it? Oh, heaven and hell for sure. You know, and oh, for sure nothing happens when you die. And based off this. Not like I wasn't trying to research. I was trying to look. And wow, they believe this too. So yeah, it has to be. So anyway, that's what I've come to. Do your own research, but that's what I've come to. As that's what I believe in. It's not coming from someone told me to believe that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Last question for you. You gave me some exercises, and I want to give you an exercise. I've been asking my guests this
Ali.
a lot. You've probably seen it, um, but I'd like you to close your eyes and um, what is something that you'd want to tell your younger self? For example, I'm turning 25 next month, and go to a point in your life where you were the most troubled. Could be 25, it could be early 20s, whatever it is. When you open up your eyes, I want you to look at me as if I'm that reflection of that version of yourself. What would be something you'd want to tell that version of Blake?
You are loved. You are guided. Follow the courage in your heart. Follow truth. Those habits that you need to change, start changing them now. Your capacity to change is so much greater than you even believe. And true happiness does exist, and you will find it.
Thank you, Blake. Thank you for being here. Thank you for talking to me about things that I haven't gone into with any other guest. Just sitting here talking to me, spreading this information with me, making the world a better place. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for giving me the ability to talk about these interesting topics. I really think people are hungry for these for these topics too, and I think you're really interested in it too. That's why you asked, and thank you for being so sincere. To take a Ed Milet quote, you know who he is.
Yeah,
If you were a stock, I'd buy you. He says it like all the time, but sincerely, yeah, I see where you're going, which is what I mean, and you're gonna get there right on time. I really appreciate you
of
in this
course.
conversation.
Where can the people find you on social?
Sure. So I'm at Blake Guss on all of my Instagram is the most YouTube, TikTok, and also my website that I'm a co-founder of, onlinemeditationevents.com. And we even have free Zoom classes a few times a week. And it's really, you can learn how to meditate live, guided on Zoom, much more powerful than apps. And of course, if you have a company or like to have me speak at your company, I don't have to go through the deepest topics that we talked about today, but really make it practical and empower the people and create good teamwork amongst everyone. And thank you so much for giving me the time to share about that. I'd love to serve and help. And anybody who needs any help, yeah, just DM me on IG.
Okay. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for showing support. Thank you guys for showing love. See you in the next episode. Blake, thank you again.
Thank you so much.